how it was that Absalom came to power and was able to cause David to leave Jerusalem and look like he was going to take over the kingdom. We left off on question 19 by way of review. It says, what counsel did Ahithophel give to destroy David? What did Ahithophel say that Absalom needed to do after he took over Jerusalem?
He's still after David, his men, drive away.
He said, give me 12,000 men and I'll go and kill him tonight, and before he has time to get away, bring everybody else back to you. What counsel did Hushai give to destroy David? Or, that he suggested he used to destroy David, which was actually to help David? Hushai. What was his advice?
It was converse to what Ahithophel said. You should meet at Hittim.
He should take time to gather an army together, lead the army himself into battle rather than attack him immediately. And of course, that was the wrong thing to do. Gave David time to recuperate and gather an army himself, where if he'd attacked that night, like Ahithophel said, David wouldn't have had that time. Whose counsel did the war council decide to follow? They decided to follow Hushai. And that was God's providence. He had prayed that Ahithophel's counsel might be overturned, and through Hushai it was. So as to what did the historian attribute the decision? I sort of stepped on that one. Who caused that to happen, did they say? So the Lord was involved in it. His providence caused them to accept the wrong advice. So the Lord has many ways to capture the wise by their own wisdom and overthrow the counsels of men. And we should trust the Lord that He's able to deliver us. He's able to deliver David and his men through this counsel that was given, and people being persuaded to accept it. What information did Hushai send to David?
Not in the wilderness to go.
I told him to leave immediately. So he gave really kind of both counsels to him. Get out right away, and then this is what Ahithophel said, and this is what I said. You should leave right away. On 24, it says, what did David do upon hearing from Hushai? He crossed the Jordan. So he acted upon the advice that was given. Certainly when you get, a lot of times you get good advice and you don't act on it, and that doesn't do much good, does it? You've got to act on the things that are given into your hand. Says, what did Ahithophel do upon learning that Absalom chose to follow Hushai's counsel? He went home and hanged himself. So he knew the doom was coming and everything was going to fail. What similarities can you find between Judas and Ahithophel? Both hung themselves. Their end is the same. And Ahithophel was close to David before. He was his counselor. So he was a close friend, like Judas was. And so in both of those ways, he betrayed David. He sided with the rebellion. So Judas betrayed the Lord. That's what we know him for, being a traitor. And that's what Ahithophel was. And they ended up the same way. So many things in the life of David and other great men in the Old Testament, but especially David, since Jesus is the son of David, that David foreshadows some of the things that are going to happen, the way that he was treated. What town became David's headquarters while in exile? Mahanaim. Or Mahanaim, that might be better. Says, who was Absalom's captain? Amasa. And who brought supplies to David? Shobi and Mechir. And Barzillai. And we'll read some more about Barzillai in this section tonight. They were all over there on the far side of the Jordan and helped out. David named 3 captains of his host to go to war against Absalom. Next set of questions there. Who were the 3 captains that we mentioned?
Joab,
Joab and Abishai and Ittai. So why did David's men not want him to participate in the battle?
They wanted to kill.
They wanted him to he was the prize. If they could kill the king, that would make the rebellion successful. So he needed to stay behind and send reinforcements. What charge did David give to his army when they went into battle? He talked to his commanders. He should deal kindly with his son. And what was the outcome of the battle? Absalom lost. They fought in the forest, and many more were killed by the forest than by the battle on Absalom's side. How was Absalom killed?
Got the tree with his hair, and then somebody came and stabbed him.
And, it says that Joab was the one that cast the 3 spears into him or darts into him, and then his 10 armor bearers continued to stab him, kill him. Why did his death end the rebellion?
Without a leader.
He's the head of it all, isn't he? You cut off the head and the body's one. Everybody else fled home after the replacement king there gets killed. Says, what does Absalom's monument show about his character?
He's a little bit egotistical.
I think so. He built a big column to talk about his name and remember his name. So that's not everybody does that. I haven't met too many people that built monuments to themselves, but he did. So he did think a lot of himself. So pride came before the fall there. Who were the? Okay, I think we'll take that there with the runners. I think that's about what we left off. All right, so
Kelly,
yes.
in verse 9 and 18, it said that Absalom's head was caught in the oak. Everything I've ever seen says it was caught by his hair and all that, but is there something that is translated that it was his hair somewhere?
No, I don't know. I just know your hair is attached to your head, and that could be part of it.
I just
You know, probably the two together somewhere or another. I mean, I don't know if he got caught in a fork in the tree, or if it was, you know, his hair and his head, or he was hanging between heaven and earth. I guess there's such emphasis placed on his hair earlier that he kind of, it usually gets brought into it, but no, I don't know exactly what happened there. So we have the news of the battle then. They want to announce it. And Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, please let me run and bring the king news that the Lord has freed him from the hand of his enemies. But Joab said to him, you are not the man to carry news this day, but you shall carry news another day. However, you shall carry no news today because the king's son is dead. So this is a mixed message, isn't it, that is coming back to the king. And we know David hasn't reacted in the way that maybe human beings ordinarily act when he's gotten news about the death of Saul. He ended up killing the messengers because he confessed to having something to do with killing Saul, right? So he tells the son of the high priest, this isn't a good day for you to run and take the message Because there's some bad news attached to this too. It's not all good news. And Joab said to the Cushites, of course he's a foreigner. Cushite is from next to Egypt, and Cushite are Africans basically. So he's the one who gets to go and run. This foreigner can take the news. Go tell the king what you have seen. So the Cushite bowed to Joab and ran. So we got him running, but Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said once more to Joab, "But whatever happens, please let me also run after the Cushite." And Joab said, "Why would you run, my son, since you will have no reward for going? But whatever happens," he said, "I will run." So he said to him, "Run." And then Ahimaaz ran by way of the plain and passed up the Cushite. So one of them runs, I guess, through the hills, and the other one runs down and runs along like the Jordan River, and is able to get there faster because he takes there's less obstacles in the way. He's able to outrun the other man and get there first. So he wants to have a part in this. He wants to run, and so he let him go for it. So David and the watchman observed then the runners coming. It says, now David was sitting between the two gates, and the watchman went up to the roof of the gate by the wall and raised his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running by himself. And the watchman called and told the king, and the king said, if he is by himself, there is good news in his mouth. And he came nearer and nearer. And then the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called to the gatekeeper and said, behold, another man running by himself. And the king said, this one also is bringing good news. And the watchman said, I think the running of the first one is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, this is a good man and comes with good news. So it sounds like, one thing I can pick up is this is telling us things that really happened. I mean, it sounds real to life, the things they're speculating on. What if you saw 100 people running, what would you think? Or 500 people running? This is bad. The whole army's coming back, right? I mean, we've gotten defeated. But to see one man coming, that sounds like good news. And then even two isn't too bad. And then he knows one of them is a messenger he especially said should be his messenger earlier. So Ahimaaz, he was the one that brought him news about the council in Jerusalem. So all's looking good. And Ahimaaz called and said to the king, all is well. And he prostrated himself before the king with his face to the ground. And he said, blessed is the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who lifted their hands against my lord the king. And the king says, is it well with the young man Absalom? And Ahimaaz answered, then when Joab sent the king's servant and your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I do not know what it was. It doesn't sound truthful to me. But he kind of dodges the whole thing. Well, there was a big tumult about something. But Joab told him specifically, didn't he? He said the king's son is dead. So he doesn't want to give the bad part of the news. Sort of like Joab told him, this isn't going to be all good. Then the king said, turn aside and stand here. And so he turned aside and stood still. And then, behold, a Cushite arrived. And the Cushite said, let my lord the king receive good news, for the Lord has freed you this day from the hand of all those who rose up against you. And then the king said to the Cushite, is it well with the young man Absalom? And the Cushite answered, let the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up against you for evil be as that young man. So you can see there's a complete different attitude on the part of all of David's servants and the way David is thinking. He is a father and a man, I'm sure, that has a great deal of guilt in the mistakes he's made in the past that have caused his son to turn out in some of these, or at least he seems to blame himself for some of the things about Absalom and the way he turned out. And that David has some private grief and agenda that everybody else doesn't recognize. And that is, he's concerned about his son, where they're just concerned about the rebellion being put down, which is And what they were, I would side with the people. I agree. Absalom needed to be dealt with, and they needed to be defeated, and that is a good thing for the kingdom of God. Has been brought down along with those that follow him, but you can also see the personal point of view from David's end of this. He has another part to look at here. The king was deeply moved and went up to the chambers over the gate and wept. And thus he said, as he walked, "Oh, my son, Absalom, my son, Absalom, would I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son." You know, on all of these things, I don't know. I don't have revelation that tells me exactly what all the lessons are we're supposed to get out of that. It's recording the actual history of what happened and the emotions that David had and the attitude that he had. And he seems to be unbalanced in the way that he reacts, as far as he has to be reproved to get him out of this melancholy mourning for his son, to recognize what all of his servants did in order to save him, what's happened for the good of the country. But he's just focused on his personal grief that he has. Some people point out, I mean, it shows the love that fathers and mothers, of course, have for their children, even when they go bad and things aren't right. I mean, how many times on the news we see people, you think, how can anybody be better or rapist? Boy, he was, you know, just always have that. And from that, but it's it goes over brief to where you see Billy's you think, like there's a lot of things different from
baby and a lot of time and baby.
I mean, is a probably David and what the prophet told him. In his as a his daughter child, one of his sons, who was the oldest son, and then that son got murdered. Then that son rebelled against him. I mean, I haven't was lost. Just start kicking them off, and it's all because I'm not following God's law. That crime is, it can just ruin your life. It's all from. So the suffering that David was going through. You know, it's easy for us to say, well, he's judgmental. So he's just unbalanced. He to be grieving like that. That personal guilt involved in it. For me, that I would this way, right? And sometimes we see some snap out of it or what. Well, Megan's involved, we don't know now. You know, David's the one that heard the prophecy. He's the one that knows why all these things are happening. I don't know if everybody else knew that. So anyway, that's a lot of things to think about and try to make application with your own way. David's mourning, and then Joab comes in to reprove him because you could tell with the two messengers how thrilled they were. We won. Your enemies have been put down, and everybody's excited. And then you come into town, and the king is off in seclusion, crying and bawling out loud for Absalom. And so now everybody feels like, well, we do a bad thing that we went out and fought and won the war. Then it was told Joab, behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. And the victory that day was turned to mourning for all the people, for the people heard it said, that day the king is grieved for his son. So the people went by stealth into the city that day as people who are humiliated steal away when they flee in battle. And the king covered his face and cried out with a loud voice, "Oh, my son, Absalom, oh, Absalom, my son, my son." So David is completely broken down here. And then Joab came into the house to the king and said, "Today you have covered with shame the faces of all your servants, who today have saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and the wives of your concubines, by loving those who hate you and by hating those who love you. For you have shown today that princes and servants are nothing to you. For I know this day that if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead today, then you would be pleased." Joab gives a harsh assessment, and a lot of people have criticized, the way that he speaks to David, the king. He goes to the other extreme, maybe, on the way that he's reacting to all this, but he doesn't have any regard for the fact he lost his son. He said, all your other children would have been killed if Absalom had won, right? He would have wiped out everybody. So he tells him, you're not acting right, and this is going to turn into a defeat for you worse than the rebellion. Now, therefore, arise and go out and speak kindly to your servants, for I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, surely not a man will pass the night with you, and this will be worse for you than all of the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now. So the king arose and sat in the gate. And when they told all the people, saying, behold, the king is sitting in the gate, then all the people came before the king. So David heeds his words that he should go out and encourage his soldiers and all those that have fought for him and risked their lives, and snap out of this and get back to his duty. If you're a king, if you hold an important office and have responsibilities, you can't just be absorbed with your personal grief about things, right? You've got your duty to perform. And it's going to affect many other lives if you just break down and don't do your job. So it is good David got up and went out there and sat down and talked kindly and persuasively and lovingly to the people and let them know that just because he was broke up over his son, it didn't mean he didn't appreciate them. So I guess something you could learn from this is you need to make sure that you don't leave a false impression, by forgetting to encourage people that need to be encouraged, right? Just thinking about yourself. Think also about the kingdom of God and the church and what your influence is going to do with them, instead of just withdrawing from everybody and leaving the impression you don't care about anybody else. That's not the right thing to do. Anybody else have a thought on this whole exchange there? Anything to add?
If the Absalom, say this didn't take place, if Absalom was still alive, and when he got over, actually Absalom would have been king. Wasn't he the one who?
Well, I don't think so. I think the people might have thought so, but God had said, right, he wants Solomon.
But yeah,
he loved, I mentioned earlier, he loved him, gave him a special name.
Yeah.
But I guess according to, if you went by the oldest, he would have been next in line.
I don't know if that was one David's mind or something.
You wonder if he'd have had what he wanted and he got him back, what kind of mess would that be with the guy that just rebelled against you and did all the things? So he kind of got justice whether David wanted to do it to him or not.
Guilt played a part of that. When I was in the military and I was gone and down in Africa for a while when I got back, Matthew, he was younger. It was like he didn't even know me, kind of made me feel guilty. I wasn't there to be a father because I was gone and stuff. So,
right.
With all the battles that he had, maybe he had kind of guilt of not being there for his son when he should have been or something.
And with that example that he set with I'm sure there's a lot of that got involved in all of it. But Absalom God saw that he got what he deserved because he's not here. There's going to be other people that, in spite of whatever David's feelings are, and compassion, they're going to get theirs anyway. You know, Joab is one of them. He's not going to get punished by David, but Solomon's going to take care of Joab later for killing people and not following orders like he's supposed to. So the argument throughout Israel then arises about, we got no Absalom, we lost the battle, we should bring David back. David just stays over there until there's a public outcry to bring him back and be the king. So all the people were quarreling throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, the king delivered us from the hand of our enemies and saved us from the hand of the Philistines, but now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. However, Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in battle. Now then, why are you silent about bringing the king back? Searching going on in Israel, but wish they'd have remembered all those good things David did before they anointed Absalom, but now there's this repentance, I guess. They want to bring the king back. And there's an argument about how to bring that about. And then King David sent to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, saying, speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house? Since the word of all Israel has come to the king, even to his house. You are my brothers, and you are my bone and my flesh. Why then should you be the last to bring back the king? So David's real base of power is the tribe of Judah. And they haven't made a move yet. So David actually makes a personal appeal to them. Why are you going to be the last when everybody else is asking for me to come back? So his own family, his own tribe needs to get in gear and take a lead in bringing him back. And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? May God do so to me and more also, if you will not be commander of the army before me continually in place of Joab. Now there's a shock. Amasa was Absalom's general. So some people think David's still hasn't got his right senses back, that he would say, you can be the general. Or maybe he's just, this is all politics, and we're just going to forgive everybody. And Joab killed my son, even though I told him not to. And he's been trying to get rid of Joab before, but he never can get rid of him. He tried to get Abner to take his place, and he killed Abner. And he's going to kill Amasa too. He's going to do the same thing to him. So he says, I'll let Amasa be the general in the place of Joab. And thus he turned the hearts of all the men of Judah. So the strategy works that David is able to win everybody over, or let's bring David back. He is willing to forgive, and we need to bring him back. And return you and all of your servants. And the king then returned and came as far as the Jordan. And Judah came to Gilgal in order to go to meet the king and bring the king across the Jordan. So now he's got Israel and Judah. And you notice how there's a division? It's Israel and Judah, and then later the kingdom's going to split in half, and it's going to be Israel and Judah. So the roots of it are already there. Before, Rehoboam comes to the throne and it splits. There are already some division there, jealousy. And we're going to see some of it extenuated here. Then Shimei, you remember Shimei? What was he doing last time David saw him? He was throwing rocks, right? He was throwing dirt on him. Things have changed since he was heading out of town. Now he's coming back victoriously. Shimei, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down to the men of Judah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they rushed to the Jordan before the king. And then they kept crossing the ford to bring over the king's household and to do what was good in his sight. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was about to cross the Jordan. So he's completely changed his attitude now. He brings 1,000 men out to help bring David across the river to be the king again. Where before he said, you're a man of blood, and you should be the king in place of Saul. But now he's had a change of heart, or at least outwardly, right? Outwardly, he's doing everything he can not to get his head chopped off, really. I mean, Solomon's going to kill him later, too. You get the first Kings. That he's recognized he's dangerous. And he's got these 1,000 men with him. And David's, on this day, going to forgive everybody, try to restore the kingdom. But he's still not, he reminds Solomon about him later, that he needs to deal with him. So he said to the king, "Let not my lord consider me guilty, nor remember what your servant did wrong on that day when my lord the king came out from Jerusalem, so that the king should take it to heart. For your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come today to be the first of all the house of Joseph to meet my lord the king." So I've had a total change of heart. I was wrong. I sinned. Please forgive me. And David on this day is going to spare his life. But whether his repentance is true, or he really has the type of heart to be forgiven, God knows. I don't know. I know later on he won't listen to what Solomon tells him, and it costs him his life. Abishai hasn't changed him. Remember when they were coming out and he was throwing rocks, he said, "Let me cut this dead dog's head off," right? That's what he's wanting to do then. And he hasn't changed his feelings at all. But David has a superior mind as far as being willing to forgive, to try to bring people over to him peacefully instead of chopping their heads off. That's not, he sort of foreshadows Christ in that way. It's not about revenge and punishing everybody to get them to bow their knee. He tries to use love and forgiveness to bring us to him. And Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered and said, "Should not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed?" David then said, "What have I to do with you, O son of Zeruiah, that you should this day be an adversary to me? Should any man be put to death in Israel today? For do I not know that I am king over Israel today? Is it time to start another rebellion? Chop this guy's head off? What about his 1,000 men that are with him and all the tribe of Judah? What are they going to think? He comes out there and asks for forgiveness, and he's going to bring his household over the river and just chop his head off. Probably wouldn't be a good political move, would it?" So David says, "I don't have to deal with you. I'm the king. This is not the way I think at all." And the king said to Shimei, "You shall not die." Thus the king swore to him. So, it's not going to be David that takes his life. That reminds me, if you've ever seen The Godfather, where Don Corleone tells all the heads of the other families, "I am not going to break the peace." But as soon as his son Michael gets in, he wipes them all out. And it's sort of that way with this situation. David doesn't take revenge, but he tells Solomon, "You better watch out for these guys. Deal with them." So then Mephibosheth, he didn't show up when David left, and his servant Ziba said he had wanted to be king like Saul and had left David. Then Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and he had neither cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he came home in peace. So he's been fasting and mourning over the king. That sounds like he was on the king's side the whole time. Is what it sounds like. He's got his unkept appearance shows that. And it was when he came from Jerusalem to meet the king that the king said to him, "Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth?" So he answered, "O my lord the king, my servant deceived me, for your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go with the king, because your servant is lame. Moreover, he has slandered your servant to my lord the king, but my lord the king is like the angel of God. Therefore, do what is good in your sight. For all of my father's household was nothing but dead men before my lord the king. Yet you set your servant among those who ate at your own table. What right do I have yet that I should complain any more to the king?" So the king said to him, "Why do you still speak of your affairs?" Now, evidently, he touches his heart. that I have misjudged you. I believed a lie about you. And he says, I have decided that you and Ziba shall divide the land. So he took all the land away from him, but now he's decided he gives him back half the land. And Mephibosheth said to the king, let him even take it all, since my lord the king has come safely to his own house. I'm not interested in property, I'm only interested in you. Appears he was slandered. Then we read about Barzillai. He's a noble old man that has served God all his life, and he came to David's rescue and supplied him with all of those goods that fed his men when he was raising his army. It was Barzillai that helped him. And now Barzillai, the Gileadite, had come down from Rogelim, and he went on to the Jordan with the king to escort him over the Jordan. Now Barzillai was very old, being 80 years old, and he had sustained the king while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said to Barzillai, you cross over with me, and I will sustain you in Jerusalem with me. So he's been such a great servant and loyal subject to David, to come live with me, and I'll take care of you in my palace. And, you deserve anything. Be part of the family the way that he's helped the king. Of course, we all would be asked by our Lord, don't we come live in his house forever someday, because we were faithful to him. We took care of his needs in the church here, did his will. But in an earthly sense, Barzillai, he can enjoy heaven someday because he'll have a new body and be young again, right? Or he'll have a body that won't wear out. But right now, he's got a worn out body. So Barzillai said to the king, how long have I yet to live? And that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem. I am now 80 years old. Can I distinguish between good and bad? Or can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Or can I hear any more the voice of singing men and women? Why then should your servant be added to the burden of my lord the king? Doesn't that sound a lot like we studied in Ecclesiastes, the last chapter, about what happens to us when we get old? That we're not able to hear anymore like we used to. We can't see like we used to. Food doesn't taste like it used to. That's coming for all of us. And this life and its pleasures are momentary, and they're going to come to an end. So we better think about what happens after that, right? When we're going to go to our eternal home. That's what we better worry about. Things in this life, they're going to become less and less pleasurable at the end. And there's not going to be any reward in this life. We've got to have it in the life to come. So he says, I can't enjoy these things anymore. Your servant would merely cross over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king compensate me with this reward? Please let your servant return, that I may die in my own city, near the grave of my father and my mother. However, here is your servant Kimham. Let him cross over with my lord the king, and do for him what is good in your sight. This seems to be his son. And he says, let him go over and enjoy all these good things. He's the one that's young enough to enjoy being in the king's house and enjoying living with the king. And the king answered, Kimham shall cross over with me, and I will do for him what is good in your sight, and whatever you require of me, I will do for you. And all the people crossed over the Jordan, and the king crossed too. And the king then kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his place. He just wanted to stay close to home. I've seen that with my parents. When they get to the point, they don't, the road doesn't come my way anymore. I go to their place, right? That's I just want to go home. That's where I want to be. And Barzillai is blessed by the anointed, the Christ here. That's what we all want. Be able to be part ways like that. Let's see, about 4 minutes. David crosses over then to Gilead. There's a dispute between Israel and Judah about bringing the king back. So we see some of these ill will and hard feelings about who gets the honor of doing what. There's jealousy among these parts of Israel. Now the king went on to Gilgal, and Kimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah and also half the people of Israel accompanied the king, And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why had our brothers, the men of Judah, stolen you away and brought the king and his household and all David's men with him over the Jordan? And all of the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is a close relative to us. Why then are you angry about this matter? Have we eaten it all at the king's expense, or has anything been taken for us? As we haven't got any special thing because we're related to the king, but he's our flesh and blood, our relative, like David had said. We ought to be the ones to bring him back. They think they should. It says, but the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 parts in the king. Therefore, we also have more claim on David than you. Why then did you treat us with contempt? Was it not our advice first to bring David back our king? Yet the words of the men of Judah were harsher than the words of the men of Israel. So there's a big dispute. The men of Judah get more emotional and fired up than the men of Israel do about the whole thing. And there's going to be another dispute break out among the men of Israel. And a second rebellion takes place. So then you end in the last section of the book, in chapter 20 through 24, you have David's last days and his last song that is recorded for us in the book. And I think we'll just take up next time with Sheba's rebellion and David's officers, so the changes that are made, and then those last events of his kingdom. Appreciate your good attention.
where you see first album. There he has 315. The same as where we are. Worthy of praises, Christ our Redeemer. Worthy of glory, honor, and power. Worthy of all hearts, soul ever made strong. Worthy art thou, worthy of love, worthy of riches, blessing and honor. Worthy of wisdom, glory and power, worthy of earth and heaven's thanksgiving, worthy art thou, worthy art thou.
A few announcements. Carol was not in the best of shape. She's pretty rough shape is what they're coming. And we need to pray for Doug and Carol at this time. Their situation is probably tough. Anybody that's had family members that are in their latter years and things that go on, that a lot of people say it should be a celebration of life and things of that nature, but it's hard to think of that when someone you've been with for many years just getting closer to what you really didn't want to have to go to. Tabitha and Elijah, they're ill, and Scott and Misty, they had a flu run to their family. I had to write the event. I did this Sunday morning. I had it wrote down so I could pray for people, never mention their names. And my age comes out, I guess, and I didn't even look at my paper. And I felt bad about it because that's what I was asked to do, is to pray for those that be careful. Tonight is, I guess if I would put a topic on it, would be putting on the new man, getting rid of the old, and maybe an ongoing process. There's just 3 or 4 different places I'd like to bring up. Ephesians 2, 1 through 3. It says, "And you hath he quickened, which made alive." These hath he quickened is in italics in the King James, so it's added. But it means to give life or to make alive. Who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in times past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in time past, in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and we're by nature the children of wrath, even as others. So I would say most likely everyone has walked in the world and with the world in some way. So there's all different kind of ways. If you read through the scriptures, you're going to find something that will step on your toes. Colossians 3 You go through, verse 5 to 11. It says mortify means to put to death, to eliminate. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affections, evil consumptions, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things sake the wrath of God cometh upon the children of disobedience. In a time which ye also walked sometimes, when ye lived in it. But now ye also put up all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communications out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man. And this is a part I underline in my Bible, which is renewed in knowledge, after the image of him that created him. For there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. What I gather from this is an ongoing process to our life. The more knowledge you get from the Bible, the more you read and study, the more you're going to find out. I think that's wrong. Now, I thought this was right. This is what my parents did, so they had to be right, they raised. But we need to study to get rid of those old habits and find out, I was doing it wrong. My time in the service, as a lot of you have, I learned that, trying to put this in a nice way, the military never does things nicely. You go in, you slap everybody around, then you ask who threw the snowball. It's just that type, and that's probably what is needed with the military. But when you go back and you look at what God said, what Jesus told us to do, it doesn't fit. So those are old habits that sink in pretty deep when they run you for 13 weeks and cram all kinds of things in your head, and then you're trying to spend the rest of your life getting it out. That's where you go back with this, which in verse 10 it says, which is renewed in knowledge. Our study, trying to find out the correct way where we want to go. 1 Corinthians 6, 9 and 10. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Now that eliminates a lot. And I've always had a little bit of assurance and hope with verse 11. It says, and such were some of you, that ye are washed, you're sanctified, that ye are justified in the name of the Lord Jesus and by the Spirit of God. These things, I hope I'm normal. Every time I hear somebody talk about some of the things they do, I do the same dumb stuff that I don't like. You're reading your own. The things I don't want to do, I do. Things I do, I don't want. It's back and forth and back. And that might be why we need to study more, to work more, and to see if our armor fits. And one thing I started to say right at first was, I don't want to say that. I wanted to say, you owe me this and I owe you. If I or anyone else stands before you and tells you something that's supposed to be from the Word of God, if you flip this, that's a little different. You need to tell me. I had a man, when I was framing houses, he was doing my trim work, and I showed him things that weren't up to my standards. And he real politely took me over and showed me some things that I had done that didn't plumb up, line up, and being a perfectionist, I was really hurt of the way I acted, or not the way I acted, but of the job. I wanted everything perfect, so his job would be easier. But I was so grateful to the man for showing me the thing I did wrong, which just took a little to make it right. And the same thing happens, it just takes a little. You can be so far away from God, and just one turn and one step, and you're right back in His presence. Our song has been selected. The bride and the Spirit, as they come, Christ is always there for you. His invitation is always there. And if there be any need, come as we stand singing.